Welcome, 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 welcome. Welcome to another episode of Trucker Talk. It's a beautiful day, and I have the one and only Mr. George, man. What's
Yeah.
been going on with you, my brother?
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone, and welcome everyone who's out there listening. All right, ain't nothing really going on. We got decent weather going on right now. It's supposed to rain today, but it's been holding off, and it's still iffy. But it's been pleasant.
I think it's supposed to rain all week. Um,
Woo.
so as far as speaking of weeks, I know the weekend's been beautiful. Been a low key chill weekend. Your week, you have a
Always a good week.
always okay,
Always a good
okay.
week. Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, me, as far as me, like I said, I'm just grateful to, I'm grateful to wake up every day. But my last week, it was funny. My Tuesday, I finally got my niece and nephew. It's been, well, first of all, y'all, it's been about what, 3 weeks. We
Yeah,
ain't been on. It's been
been
about three
been been,
weeks.
been in the back
Life
burner.
events, things going on, and there again, these are our opinions, just a conversation. We're gonna talk about different things, but yeah. So I got my niece and nephew, man, and finally we was able to get in the hot tub, man, and it cracks me up because even though from last year, for me getting them, spending that time with them, getting them in the hot tub, they my from what I remember, my niece was so, I guess maybe kids just grow so fast I can't keep up with them, but she finally sat down in the hot tub and she was like, Uncle Matthew, look, I can sit. So the water came up like to her to her neck, and so I had a moment. I was just like, dang, like was she that? Because before she was so little, every time she get water out, I need a towel because she one of them.
Yeah.
She gonna not boot. Like I say, she gonna be one of them little pretty girls that don't want to get her hair wet. But man, it was just funny because I was going back because I do like a Facebook Live whenever I get them, playing in the hot tub stuff. And but for some reason, I can't remember being that fascinated with holding my nose going in the water, but she was just so excited. Like, and I'm thinking to myself, it's simple. Like they ride scooters. Well, as far as right now, they like to ride scooters, but that's the only thing like they're interested in.
Yeah, that's normal because they go through those phases where certain things appeal to them, certain things are going to be exciting, and certain things are going to be challenging. So you just kind of go with those phases.
Yeah, but it's still I think, well, this is a whole new generation though,
Oh
man.
yeah,
But nah, but I just always enjoy them, man. And it's to me because I guess I miss my son being little, which he's 21, but I miss those times. But it's just enjoyable for them, and so that was a good moment for me this week. But also, um, I'm gonna say this quick quote real quick. It just says, well, it's just a saying. It says, "You don't have to man up, you just have to speak up."
nice, like that.
So I like that saying, but being another good friend of mine, I'm not gonna mention his name. I'm gonna just say EH. Um, we conversate, from time to time, and I think about maybe about 2 weeks, maybe about 2 or 3 weeks. I'm gonna say about 4 weeks, 3 weeks ago. No, 2 weeks ago. We had this conversation, and we talking about God, and um, I'm gonna bounce back. I skipped something. The sermon today, Pastor Oscar, that was a I meant to say that was a good sermon though, man. One thing that stuck out to me in that sermon, before I go back into what I was just talking about, he was talking about how as people, we get wrapped up into things, and we get like we do things. And like I said, he always, well, he's
Yep.
talking to me, but that was how I used to be. But he was talking about how we can get wrapped up into things, and we, go get a girlfriend or go get a, whoever, and it makes you happy. But you're just so happy. It's like, now what, then what? But he was just saying, you have to, you can't do that. That's not something healthy, something that can sustain your happiness, because you gotta, at the end of the day, find your peace, find God, and so forth. But yeah, That was a pretty. It
It
was a
was
pretty good
good. It
sermon,
was
man.
good. And like you said earlier, it's amazing how he even talks about that as well. You know, I think everyone goes through some season in their life, and it's like oh man, he read my mind. He is talking to me, and those are the ones that hit everyone like that. You know, because it pertains to your particular season in life, and it makes a lot of sense when you stop and just actually listen to a sermon, or if you listen to something that's out there, you say, "Oh, this is dedicated to me." But yeah, he did good today. He's straight to the point.
Yeah, he was right on it, man. So, but it was a good sermon today. But yeah, but as I was sitting there, I teared up because, like I said, I'm a tough guy, but I ain't a tough guy because at the end of the day, I can be vulnerable, and this might be a little touchy podcast today because I'm not I'm not pissed off or nothing like that, but I'm just a little touched right now. So me and my buddy EH, I'm like I said, I'm not gonna say his name, but EH, we had this conversation, and he told me, and I was at work, and he said, he said, Matthew, God this, God that, He said, but what happened? And he asked me this question, and he said, what happened if you lose your job? He said, would you still praise God? Would you still thank God? My exact words, I said, yes, I would. I said, because I believe that everything that happens in your life, it prepares you. But there again, back to the emotional intelligence, depending on where you at emotionally, is how you're going to be able to handle it and how you're going to be able to take it in. If you one of those, if you materialistic, you think because you got money, that's going to fix all of your problems and all that, that ain't going to work. But if you can emotionally get rooted in, as far as whatever that situation is, and you process, you got to take time to process it because some people, some people get bad news and guess what? They go smoke them a joint. they,
Yeah,
they go to the bar and they're like, and I'm like, and all that does is it and don't get me wrong.
hit that diversion.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I used to when I get, be all depressed, I would just hit the alcohol. But I ain't had the first, I ain't had the first drinking alcohol since I'm about to go into what I heard. But so um so therefore, I'm gonna fast forward. I was feeling a little funny this week. I don't know why, because work and stuff was just slowing down, and I was just like, man, there is something off about this week. So for some reason on Wednesday, I felt it. I felt it in my soul, and I just texted my boss, and I was just like, I'm just checking on you. I hope are you doing okay? Just to send him just a message. So he responded, and I was just like, man, he's not, something's not okay. So fast forward Thursday, we all come to work. We're all in the warehouse working, and they said, nobody couldn't go nowhere, nobody couldn't leave, but we had a special meeting at 1 o'clock. So of course, I ain't been on the road all. I've been on the road like one time last week, and they said, everybody's got to be here. They didn't tell us what it was about, so I thought worst case scenario. So then I was thinking, you know, and I thought about what said, and I was just like, you know what, you know, I don't know, but we'll see what just to see what happens. So make a long story short, we had a meeting. Well, a group of people had a meeting before we did. So one of the good young ladies that I work with, she worked in the office with my boss. Sweet, sweet young girl. I look at her as like my little sister. But man, as they come back in the building, I went and I sat like on a and me and I'm just go ahead and say it, the 20-year-old attitude. Like I'm not even gonna lie because I'm 40 years old now, but the 20-year-old me came out. Like I sat on that pad, I sat like George, I sat down, I was like, yes. Like what?
Aggressive behavior.
Like so the two gentlemen walked in, and the lady walked in, and so I felt it. And so when I looked over at the other young lady that worked in the office, like George, she started crying, like,
Oh my lord.
and I told myself, oh shoot, I said, this is not good. So she started crying, and I was just like, golly. So I'm sitting there, And as the guy started to talk, he's like, first, you know, when they start the conversation, I'm like, first off, we want to thank you all.
Yeah.
I was like, come on, man. So he started out, first of all, I want to thank you all for everything you do, blah, 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 blah. And it seems like when he started talking, I went numb. And I heard, you know, we're gonna keep the Atlanta facility open, blah, 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 but we're gonna shut down tonight. And I was like, whoa, like I was not, don't get me wrong, when me and EH had that conversation, I said, if I lose my job, I wasn't even mad, you know. So it happened. And so I'm just like at that point, I'm just numb. I'm not even gonna lie. I was numb because I was just like, so it happened. So the young lady that works in the office, like after they, walked away, she walked up to me and I held her. She was bawling, and I felt like, I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to cry with her, but as me being not trying to show that the what is it called, the macho
The
man,
strong side.
but I was just consoling her because
Right.
and I told her, I said, you're smart, you're very intelligent, you've learned all these skills. I said, you're smart enough, you can find you something else. You're very intelligent. So, but yeah, man, that was a tough pill to swallow, man. And I'm not gonna say it was a tough pill to swallow, but that was just tough.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how hard it hit me until I went and I cleaned my work truck out. But I drove home with and I forgot I let my tailgate down because I had my crate with all my stuff in it. I was gonna throw it in my tailgate. I drove all the way home with my tailgate down.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was down
Expected.
until I was backing up in my garage. And I told myself, I said, dang, it hit me hard.
Yeah,
Like
distraction.
it hit me after I left. So um I don't know, it just hit me the wrong way. But even that day, I had, a good friend of my son's graduation to go to. So I couldn't even eat. Like I was so numb. I was like, you know what? I don't even want to eat. So I didn't eat until after his son's graduation. But I say that to say this, um, gratitude isn't just about saying thank you. Gratitude is about seeing the good, and seeing the good even when it's hard to find. And so one of the lessons, like me, I've been practicing gratitude since, well, you sent me that text a year ago, a year and some months ago, and I started going back to the church. But I've been practicing gratitudes for a year and 5 months now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even whether it's good or bad, if I'm sick, that's something I've been practicing. But man, it was just it was different, man. It was different. So my question to you, um, do you feel pressure to always have it together? Like some people be like some people, most people tell me, man, you got it together. You got your stuff together, and it's that. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't talk about my problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like, I listen to a lot of people's problems, but I don't really talk about all my stuff because it's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, that's a lot. And that's the thing, man. I'm always thinking, like, something happened at work the other day. I don't know what we were talking about anyway, because my son that I have at work, everybody say, "Oh man, you this." Everybody likes you. Everybody this. Everybody that, and another. I said, "Okay, that's fine." I said, "Now we was talking about something." And I said, "Yeah, I know y'all might think I got it all together." I said, "But I get mad about certain things as well. But I
Right.
look at, like I said, we look at the other side of it. Going back to your story, yeah, I look at the other side of it. Of course, when you're going through these seasons, you don't really can't justify or you can't soothe yourself and say, well, this happened because of that. All you know is the action that just happened, and it hitting you. You got to process that and move on with it. And like I told you when you told me about it, I said, well, the thing about that is, even though you're not working there anymore, you still have prepared yourself for another position in life because you got your hazmat, your tankers. You're not you're able to find another job. It may not be what you want or paying what you would like to make, but you're still not sitting where I'm just going to sit and wait on an employment check because I don't know what else I want to do. A lot of people do that. They lose their job. It's like, I don't know what I'm going to do because I don't know. I don't have any more skills.
Right.
My
Right.
skills are gone. Just like even for me, if something happened, I can always go to sales because I like selling. I've always sold all my life. So I would go to a sales job I would be selling something if it's not a newspaper, but that's what I do. But Where you able to, and when you told me, I said, well, think about it. You got your CDLs, you got your tankers, you got your hazmat. You can drive a truck. You
Correct.
and shipping, it's gonna always be in the world. Something's gonna be transported logistically from point A to point B. So, it's gonna be tough losing that position because I told you before when you first got the job, I said, man, that is a wonderful company. And it has all these benefits and all these changes and all this. This is good. So you can be there for a long time. But just like any company, they all change for the life of the business. They have to
Yes.
make those adjustments for the business.
Correct.
Business is going to come first. Even with the company I work for, they say they love us, but that business will come first. Profit comes before anything else, and that's just life. We have to adjust things like that. It's always something you have to adjust,
Right.
to whether it's bad news, from a doctor, bad news from it's like, oh my God, what are they going to say this time? So,
Correct. Correct.
so you just kind of like you're numb, even though it hits you. Like I said, it's a gut punch.
It is.
But you just kind of pick up the piece. Okay, let me and then work through this because it's got to be a brighter line. I mean, another line and brighter side to this thing.
Yeah, it's all. I mean, it's all. I believe it's always a brighter side. It's just it's how you process it
Yeah,
and what you do with that information.
processing. Yeah,
And
and it may not even be a brighter side. It may be just that's where you are, and you just got
correct.
to get that and you go with it. That's all you can do.
Yeah, and just like this quote from heard this quote. It says, "When you focus on the good gets better," and that's by Abraham Hicks. Um, but episode 12, man. I want to talk about. Well, we're going to talk about gratitude, and so there again, gratitude. It's more than being polite. It's spiritual, mental, and it's emotional discipline.
Whew.
So, yeah, that's, I mean, spiritual, mental, and emotional discipline.
All those things wrapped into one to make one thing.
T- Is exactly because if you don't, I mean, if you don't have those, I mean, you think you, for a minute, let's think about it. You got, well, I'm not rich. Well, I, I ain't rich. Go
Right.
ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
But you're not rich, but you are richer than some.
Exactly. But you look at the richest people in the world and the people that's got all this money, and when it comes to the spiritual mental, when it comes to that, they lack,
Yep.
some of those things. So you like when you sitting back and you watching them on TV, you're like, man, how come so and so acting out this girl doing? It's like, why do they do that? Like, we always say, man, if I had that kind of money, I want you
Yeah.
don't know
You
what
don't know. You don't know because the mentality at that point changes.
it
Sometimes.
changes, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not even really in that position. So you can say what you want to say, but until, like you always say, until it affects you,
Yep.
that wraps that back
Yeah.
to that. Until it affects you and is you dealing with it, it don't matter to
Yeah,
you.
it's not
So
important. And that's
it
I,
affects you.
of course, and I always say it all the time. It's just everything. Till something affects you, it's not a big deal. It doesn't
Right.
even matter. You can have the best neighborhood in the world, but as soon as crime comes in that neighborhood, now it's affecting me. So now I got to, speak up. But if it's somebody
Correct.
else's neighborhood, and that's their problem, not mine. So
Correct.
yeah, we talk about it all the time. Like we talk throughout the day, all day long. We always have
Right.
these conversations.
Well, we got a lot of episodes. All I can say,
We have episodes every single day. Yeah, I know.
I got to start jotting it down. But no, gratitude isn't ignoring pain. It's finding meaning in it. And
Goodness.
so, um, one of the things that I ask myself, like sometimes, and just like sitting in a truck when I would drive state to state, different places, if there was an accident or if somebody was holding me up, regardless of accident or something, I would ask myself, when I ask myself, so I'm like, God, what are you trying to teach me in this
Mm,
moment? So as far as with patience, I've learned patience with a lot of things because every time when Matthew has his own schedule and it messes up my schedule,
yeah.
I'm like, okay, I planned this out like this. So what are you trying to teach me in this?
Mm,
So with that saying, you got to find a meaning as far as the different, as far as with gratitude with different situations and
yeah.
circumstances. You got to find a meaning, in it and just process it and try to figure out, okay, what is this, and just like I had a long, like, cause I love my boss and I told him, I said, if it wasn't for him and man, I'll give you a bit. I told him, man, I said, I was thinking from 2015, George, 2025. I'm thinking about, well, the first company I worked for, he trained me before he left there. So got me on with the second company. I worked there 7 years. So with this third company, I worked there 3 years. So as I'm processing, like I ain't got nothing but time because I ain't got a job.
Yeah.
So as I'm processing this, I'm thinking, okay, like me and him, I used to tell him, I said, man, I wanted to fight you, man. Like I said, I'm not gonna say his name. I love him, but I'm like, man, I wanted to fight him because when I worked for the second company, I'm talking, I would go different states, different, like I'm talking about countries. I'm not countries, but in the backwoods. And so you gotta remember, I'm learning to drive it. Well, I'm driving a truck, so you got to back into places. You got to park. I mean, we doing everything. So we had 28, 38, and 42 footers there. Then we in the 48 footer. So I drove all those different vehicles or whatever, or different trailers. When COVID hit, I learned I had my doubles, so I learned how to use my doubles. I used my doubles there. So in 2018, I got my tankers and my hazmat. So with this new company, or this company I've been with the past 3 years, which he was my supervisor there, I got to use my hazmat and my tankers. So the thing about it, as I'm processing this, I'm thinking, okay, my first company to the second company to the third company. After this, I call this round three since it's the third company.
Yeah.
Mainly, like when I've been online every day. I get up 4 o'clock and I'm applying for jobs and everything. So most of them are wanting you to have at least 3 years of experience. So I'm telling myself, I'm like, wow, like I got 3 years of experience with tankers and hazmats. You know what I'm saying? So not saying it's a mistake, but I got that experience.
You got it. And not only that, the 3 years, they just with hazmat. Go back to the other 7 years or 10 years just for having CDLs.
Correct.
So you basically you covered up from first job when you got your
2006
CDLs,
is when I got my CDLs.
till you get up to now till you got your hazmat and tankers. So that span of coverage, now you covered for what other license you need? An airplane? I mean, that's the only thing you got to have, isn't it?
I'm gonna throw this out. I got a motorcycle license.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, but think about it. Motorcycle, I wouldn't count that. But your next will be an
airplane, bus,
spaceship.
Well, not a bus.
No, a
bus driver. That's class B though. That's class B.
That's what I'm saying. So you covered a lot of opportunities that's going to allow you to get into jobs because you got the experience. That's the thing. You got the experience.
Correct.
So you covered. You good for all that. Just for I told one of the new guys that I met the other day at work, and because I never wanted CDLs. I didn't have how to drive.
Right.
And so I was just giving him a little bit of motivation. So yeah, man, I do this because I like doing it. I said,
right.
Get CDLs, and that will make you in reality. Once you get your CDLs, you're gonna be way more valuable than I am because you can drive a truck and you can do what we're doing. I can only do this, so I'll set myself up to this is where I'll stop at. You can go here and then go back and get your CDLs, and you can move forward from this point, and allows you to say apply for different positions that require a CDL. So it's kind of motivational pep talk to him. But I'm just saying, you'll be here for 4 or 5 years, and you're like, man, I don't need them. But if you get them, company have to pay for it.
Correct.
So that's
there
a
you
plus.
go.
So it's like it's going to cost you anything to get them unless you quit. So anyway, but yeah, just going back to that, you set yourself up, like I always tell you, set yourself up for success.
Right.
But if you limit yourself, you're going to limit yourself.
Limit yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what some people they do, but it's just like, yeah. So I had that conversation with with my ex-boss, and I was just like, man, I said, I'm grateful for you, man. I said, thank you. And I got to tell you, he thought I was playing. I said, I pray, I get up every morning, I still do it. I said, thank you, God, for him, and thank you for the opportunities, because if it wasn't for him, and I can say that to him, if it wasn't for you, I would not be the driver, not man, but I would not be the driver, the aggressive driver that I am today if it wasn't for you, because you forced me out of my comfort zone. And that's basically what he did, because I remember when I first went to the second company, man, I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to stay local. Shoot, man. He's like, nah, I'm sending you here, there.
Yeah.
And he would be like, and I would call, I'd be like, hey man, for such that he like, here's paperwork. He's like, you see that address? Go to the next stop and just put them in your, your GPS. And I'm like, what about this? Well, you look for a dumpster, you look for that. There's a number on the papers. If you don't see nobody, in the say if it's not a key drop, he'd be like, call the number. So instead of, because there was a lot of drivers that they called we had a dispatch person, but they would call her and be like, hey, can you get a hold of something? Like they didn't know how to do things on their own, but he forced me to get out of my comfort zone and to do that. So when I think gratitude is a quiet strength that keeps you grounded when life gets loud. I heard that. That's another good quote. But yeah. So I mean, I'm just like I said, and as I've had time to reflect, as I've been sitting in my beautiful house, and just, I'm gonna just go to another thing, just like I have my support system. I reached out, just like I reached out to you first, but I got my support system. I reached out to my family because I said I'm not gonna be no big bad wolf. Like man, I'm this big, whatever, because I'm not gonna be that. So I let everybody know, hey, I lost my job. This is where I'm at. I'm blessed. I'm grateful that I save money, I budget, and I do all those things. I don't overlive my means. So, and that was another thing I thought about the other people that don't do what I do, which they're gonna have some hardships. So, I mean, me, I'm just like, I got lights on here. I'm gonna sit in my hot tub. I'm gonna eat my meals I got planned for the week, and my water's running. So, I can't sit here mad, man. I'm not mad. I'm just
it's going through another season of life.
Just another season of life, man.
That's another adjustment that you'll have to adjust to that next phase of life.
Yeah, man. And it's like talk about feel the pressure and pain, but you feel like, and like I was telling somebody, somebody else asked me, like somebody sent me a message, I can say their name, and it was like, in which they checked on me, I appreciate it, like how you feeling or whatever. And I'm like, I'm grateful. And they was like, they was like, well, you amaze me. How can you be grateful? Like you're grateful in this moment, but I couldn't do it. And I'm like, yeah, you can. I'm like, you have to train yourself to do that. So, but I said you can do that. But a reflection question, um, would I still thank God even if nothing changed? Like it's like, um, I I thought about that, and I'm just like, but I still do because I practice it on a daily. It's a daily ritual for me. So,
like you said before, spiritual and mental.
yeah. So it's like I still would thank them, even though like if they call me tomorrow, I'm like, oh, we just joking, but nah, it's Memorial Day. So it is what it is. But yes, but you can be both. Like I said, I want to encourage the listeners. You can be both. You can be healing and you can be grateful. But one of the things that I want to I'm gonna wrap it up, man. Is just to remind you that gratitude isn't about what you have; it's about what you see. Because did you catch that? Gratitude isn't about what you have; it's about what you see. And so, people, which I mean, we got people got noise in their ear and they got the eyes open. So if you got noise in your ear, you might miss something. So, but yeah, man. But you got anything?
That was good. That was good. It was just good because cause we talk about this every day. We have all these conversations throughout the day, throughout the week, and we're gonna have a lot more stuff, for you guys to listen to and share with us, or we'll share with y'all. You can comment if you like, and we appreciate it. Like I said, just our everyday life that we live, and I'm sure other people live just like we live, and we all have these ups and downs, and these highs and lows is what we go through every day in life.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But man, as always, good man. Hey, I appreciate you, my brother. And we're gonna wrap this up, man. I hope everybody have a good day.
All right, appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's the drip from me, Strozar.